Hello everyone, I'm Yoo Ji-hye and welcome to In the Newsroom, where we bring you the behind-the-scenes look on how we deliver the news to you. Now, today is an exciting day for Korea and for many of our reporters at Arirang News, as it is the kickoff day of the much-anticipated Nuclear Security Summit here in Korea. It's the largest international gathering hosted by the nation, and more than 50 leaders from around the world will be here to discuss a range of issues, including the nuclear security and safety. Well, you're joining me here at the COEX Convention Center, the very venue of the Nuclear Security Summit. And starting very early this morning, our reporters have been here trying to track down and cover all the stories and to keep you up to date on the summit. So let's go inside and see what they're up to and some of the stories they've been following throughout the day. Let's go. So this is the International Media Center where all the reporters from around the world gather to cover the story on Nuclear Security Summit. And as you can see, we see some familiar faces here. Our reporters from Arirang is all here writing aware the story. And I see our editor, Scott. Hi, how are you doing? I know you're busy, but how has the day been so far?
Busy. I think that's the best way to describe how today's been, and the entire summit as a whole, I guess.
I see. Any challenges?
I think most of the challenges fall on the reporters for the most part. They're the ones running around trying to get all of the stories covered and make sure they're covering all the angles that they need to cover. It's really been, as you can see, pretty much a beehive around here with reporters buzzing from all around the world. Arirang reporters, of course, being no exception. So their job is the hard one, I feel like. My job is to, look at their stories as quickly as possible to make sure that they can get on the air when they need to be on the air.
But I'm sure you've seen quite a number of stories coming in your way. What was most interesting, do you think? Anything that comes up to mind?
Yeah, there's been quite a few interesting stories, of course, that have come from this summit. As I mentioned before, I think one of the interesting aspects is the fact that there are world leaders from over 50 countries here, and therefore there are journalists from dozens of countries as well. So some of the stories that we followed that I have found interesting have been the ones where they are talking to some of these journalists and getting their perspective on how they're covering the story, the angle that they're covering the story. I think that's very interesting. Pretty exciting for everybody involved, including us.
It certainly is. Thank you so much, Scott. Okay,
My
I'll
pleasure.
let you get back to work.
All right,
All right, see you later. Benji, I know you have less than half an hour to go to be on air live, but can you tell us what kind of story you'll be telling us today?
Okay, so I had to do a live interview with a foreign journalist. So I had to find somebody really quickly. I was very shy about this at first, but I just knocked on the door of this AP cubicle. And I asked, is there anybody available for a live interview at 4? Please, anyone. And
Who's the lucky
luckily, Christopher Bodine from the Beijing Bureau of the Associated Press. So
What kind of stories are you going to ask him? What kind of questions, I mean?
So I'm going to ask him what the main interests of his viewers are, his readers are, what aspect of the Seoul Security Nuclear Summit he's been covering, and I'm going to ask about, the Chinese President Hu Jintao, like his remarks about North Korea's planned rocket launch, how he expressed concerns, like was it expected, or, what do you think? What are your thoughts? It should be really unique, interesting to hear from him coming from China, but he's an American reporter though, so. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. Yeonji, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What angle have you been covering the Seoul Nuclear Security Summit? What do you think are the main interests of your viewers?
Yeah, well, the summit itself is a major event, and we're trying to stay on top of how countries are presenting their positions and the progress they're making toward securing nuclear materials and increasing security. Obviously, the activities of President Obama are of great interest to, particularly to an American audience. His interactions with other world leaders. So we're following that closely. And then there's all that's going on outside of the conference, particularly the recent statements and actions by North Korea that are sort of having adding a layer of texture to the conference and what's going on right now.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Wish you luck. It was a live interview. I didn't know what to expect, but it was very fun, being a live interview. I think it went well. It was interesting to hear a foreign journalist's perspective on this summit, what their interests are. So very good experience for me as a reporter. So.
There you are. I've been looking for you.
Hi, Jihye. I have coffee for you if
So
you
sweet.
like it.
Thank you so much. Right. So you've been tracking President Obama. How did that go?
It was really exciting for me. I never knew I would get a chance to meet President Obama, right? And it took place at the Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, and more than 700 students came. There were reporters from the White House, and there were local media. It was crazy.
Yeah. How did the crowd react to him?
Well, as soon as he walked in, of course, they were really excited, screaming, and yeah.
So what did he talk about? I mean, the speech was towards the students. Was there anything inspirational message that he was trying to?
Well, what was really attention-grabbing was that he opened his speech with kind of his knowledge about Korea. In the beginning, he talked about SNS. He began mentioning Facebook, Twitter, and then he moved on to KakaoTalk and Me Today, which is it was a representative Korean SNS, right? And you wouldn't expect a U.S. president to mention KakaoTalk. And so that was an interesting point. And then he moved on to nuclear security. I think it's because he is in Korea for the Nuclear Security Summit that he focused his speech on the topic. So yeah, that was.
U.S. President Barack Obama appealed to North Korean leaders to have the courage to pursue peace, as further provocations will only meet stronger sanctions.
But we know where that leads. It leads to more of the same. More broken dreams, more isolation, ever more distance between the people of North Korea and the dignity and the opportunity that they deserve.
In a speech at the Hankuk University of Foreign Studies in Seoul on Monday, President Obama urged Pyongyang to drop its plan to launch a rocket next month, something that the U.S. and other nations suspect is a disguised missile test.
There is time to solve this diplomatically. It is always my preference to solve these issues diplomatically. But time is short. Iran's leaders must understand they too face a choice.
Throughout his speech, President Obama urged the students to raise awareness about the dangers of nuclear terrorism and also praised Korea for being one of the key leaders in ensuring nuclear security. 황성희, Arirang News.
Right, this is the special press room for our presidential office correspondents in Korea. I was here back 2 years ago to cover the G20 summit, and it feels surreal to be back. But I see our reporter, Jin-ju, right there. And let's get her to talk more about how she's been doing. All right. Jin-ju, hi.
Hi.
Sorry to bother you. Just wanted to talk to you briefly about what kind of stories you've been following for us today.
Oh, today I'm actually waiting for this whole communique to be announced in 2.5 hours or so. So I'm just sitting here and listening to the small briefings that being held in between. So.
See, I'm aware that there has been a busy day ahead for President Lee Myung-bak's series of bilateral summits. How are you holding up?
The day before yesterday, we had a bilateral summit with Obama. Yesterday, we had it with Chinese President Hu Jintao and Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. So it was a busy day, and a lot of things went on between the leaders, especially North Korea topped the agenda, of course. Their plan to launch a long-range rocket was the top of the agenda for all these leaders and the talks.
So you've seen a lot of the leaders so far, throughout the nuclear summit as well. This is a personal question, but if you could talk to maybe half an hour with one of the leaders, then who could it be?
Well, Probably a lot of people would want to talk to him in person, but I would prefer President Barack Obama, perhaps.
Why is that?
Well, he is the President of the United States, and I have been really inspired by his speeches that he has made in the U.S. and around the world, so I would really like to talk to him in person.
Jinji, thank you so much for talking to us. I know you're quite busy, but I'm just gonna let you go back and
Okay.
yeah, I think there's a briefing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank
See you
you.
later. Bye.
North Korea was at the top of the agenda during President Lee Myung-bak and U.S. President Barack Obama's bilateral summit Sunday evening. The two leaders made it clear that Pyongyang's plan to launch a long-range rocket is a violation of UN Security Council resolutions, as well as the agreement reached between the U.S. and North Korea last month, and defined it as a provocative act that threatens international peace and safety.
따라서 북한이 발사 계획을 즉시 철회하고 국제적 의무를 준수해야 한다는 데도 의견을 함께 하고 있습니다.
They need to understand that bad behavior will not be rewarded.
The two sides also agreed to continue with ongoing efforts to modernize their security alliance, which the U.S. leader described as unshakable. On Monday, President Lee Myung-bak is scheduled to meet with leaders of other six-party members, Chinese President Hu Jintao and Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, where North Korea's rocket launch plan is expected to top the agenda once again. Ju, Arirang News.
Jie, hi.
Hey, Sunday, you just missed my report.
Oh, I did. I'm so sorry. What was the story about?
The story was about the events that the spouses of the world leaders who are visiting to Korea for the Nuclear Security Summit will go through during the 2-day when the nuclear summit is being held, and they would be watching all the performances that features Korean traditional clothing like hanbok, and also they are having food, Korean traditional food that are chosen by the First Lady Kim Yoon-ok. So I guess they're having a lot of fun in Korea.
Right, and I had no idea we had a humongous screen solely dedicated to Arirang TV, but it's great to see that. And of course, I hear that you've been doing a live TV for us, a coverage. How did that go? It's your first time.
Yeah, just to add on about the screen, we also have a huge set in this place and this site, and it's very, for me, it's my first time to be in such a huge global event, and I feel so proud of our broadcasting company. And yes, I did the live show for the newscast, and I tried to deliver the lively atmosphere in here as much as I could through the live newscast. And yeah, it was such a precious experience for me. I had a lot of fun.
How would you self-evaluate yourself?
Well, I mumbled a lot. I wasn't perfect, but I'll try my best next time so I could improve better next time. It was a lot of fun. Well, and I actually, through doing the live newscast, I could learn more about the Nuclear Security Summit as well. And yeah, it was a fantastic experience for me, I guess.
Yeah, thank you so much for your input. I'm sure you did great. I'll check it out later.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank you.
catch you later. Bye.
Today we are shooting about the activities of volunteers for the Seoul Nuclear Security Summit, and there will be around 2,000 volunteers who will be working during the 2-day summit, and we are focusing on what they're doing. I'm a reporter with experience of around a year and pretty short experiences. So I think this will be the biggest event that I will cover during the last 1 year. 자원봉사자님들 시간대가 언제인지 여쭤봤었는데 지금 받아서 전화를 드리는 거거든요. 네, 감사합니다. 네. We just arranged we just succeeded in arranging interviews at this subway station, which took a lot of time and efforts, but we did it. So now we're going to shoot some footages from this subway station.
How many phone calls did you make?
I don't know. Well, let me see. At least 4 to 5 phone calls in like 10 minutes. And every day this happens every day. We have to make a lot of phone calls, and that's one part of being a reporter.
우리 지금 대체로 근무하고 있는 거예요, 지금?
아닌데? 그럼 it didn't go as we planned because we did make like just today like 5 phone calls to many agencies to shoot this place. But then it turned out that in this office there weren't many volunteers, and we decided not to shoot at this place. So it's a little bit disappointing, but it's okay. And that it happens all the time for reporters. So we're used to it. We didn't expect this. We didn't expect this. British Prime Minister just visited the subway station, which we didn't know before, but we were just happy to meet them. So it's one of the great footages that we got.
어떤 정책이랄지 또 조치랄지
Well, this is my first time to cover like this big international events. So it's exciting, but at the same time, I want to see more. But it was interesting to see how these people are working behind the scenes to make this event more successful.
So the Nuclear Security Summit, we've all been working so hard towards this. And how does it feel to be actually here broadcasting live from our special set?
Honestly, I'm really, of course, just thrilled beyond description. But honestly, I'm really exhausted after like several live coverages from 6 a.m. in the morning.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I feel very privileged that we have this opportunity to host the news for one of the landmark events here in Korea.
It is a historic moment for us, especially for us South Koreans.
Right, and for us anchors, it would be a really memorable experience that we hosted the news right here at the Media Center. And, but personally, oh dear, it's very tiring. Yeah.
I hear that we have a special guest today.
Actually, no, I just, there are so many foreign journalists here from all over the world, all their eyes here on the Seoul Summit.
3,700 journalists?
Yeah, right, from 40 different countries, I think. And they're all out here, focusing on the Seoul Summit. The littlest comments that these leaders are making headlines all over the world. And I actually got to speaking one of the journalists from the Netherlands, which is the next host country of the Seoul Nuclear Security Summit. And so I thought I'd invite him in. Come on, Walter.
Yeah.
Walter. Nice
Thank you. I'm honored to be on the show.
Hi.
I never share a desk in Holland with 3 lady
to meet
anchors,
you.
so that's very nice.
Take a seat. Take a seat. Right.
So, how are you hanging there so far?
It's nice. I mean, if you look behind you, all the facilities are there to provide some good service to all the journalists that came from all over the world. So far, we're doing very well. Yeah.
I heard that you were here for the G20 as well. Has a lot's been changed since then?
You mean to Korea or in general? Yeah, no, I don't think so. That was only maybe 2 years ago, right? I mean, yeah, of course, we're living in a different world. I mean, more and more things have happened. Of course, also with your neighbor, North Korea. So for us journalists, it's always very, very interesting to come here.
Right, there's something dynamic always going on here in Korea. I remember we had a news set right here at during G20 Seoul Summit in 2010, and I remember covering the news, and yeah, it was like a very similar setting, right?
It is, actually, but bigger in scale, I guess, right, like this year.
Yeah.
I understand this is the biggest summit that Korea has ever held.
That's right, that's correct. Yeah.
Props to you, very good.
And you guys will be taking it from here.
Yes, exactly. Well, the summit started in 2010 with Obama's big plan, and now you guys are taking over, and in 2014, when basically the major goals that were pledged in 2010 need to be fulfilled, need to be completed. That's in 2014, so
But
we will hold
I
that.
just want to check, is it official? Has the Netherlands been officially named as the third
I
host?
think officially there needs to be some sort of vote, and I think they will do that today. It might have been done already, or it will be done today. But yeah, the official, how can I say, invitation from South Korea is there, and we're happy to accept it.
Well, people here in Korea are, they're aware of nuclear terrorism.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to this summit right here. But how is it back in your country? Are people aware of the imminent danger or threat of nuclear terrorism?
Yes, they are. I mean, they were already aware, but I think, of course, the nuclear accident in Fukushima, which I've covered myself as well for several times now over the past year, that has really made a huge impact on being aware, the awareness of nuclear energy and what it can do, how dangerous it can be if things go wrong. I think something that this summit does very well, and I think that's what the Korean government also wants to emphasize, is that the threat does not only come from nuclear warheads and nuclear missiles. There's so much more other nuclear material in the world, right? I mean, even hospitals, like here in Seoul as well, there's many hospitals who use nuclear material for radiation therapy and all those kind of things. Exactly, and that's the thing that is very, very worrying, is that a lot of these hospitals are not fully prepared, not fully secured very well, and I think the summit and the leaders from Korea are really emphasizing that that is something that we need to do something about.
Right, the management of these nuclear materials, and also to draw pledges from each different countries to, I guess, scrap and give up their highly enriched uranium. That actually topped the agenda earlier this morning at the press briefing room. Yep.
Guys, I just want to remind you that this is becoming like a formal news broadcast. This is like behind the
It
scenes,
is, isn't it?
sort
Yeah,
of
I'm so
casual
sorry. Yeah.
shoot. So, Wouter, have you done any live coverages so far?
We will be doing them today, actually. Yeah.
Around when?
Late at night. We are like 7 hours ahead of North Korea, of Korean time. So the thing is, we have to wait until like 3 a.m. Tonight to actually do our lives.
Well, Walter, thank you so much for your time. I
You're
hope you
welcome. Thank
enjoy
you for
the
having
rest
us.
of the stay here
Yeah.
in Korea.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
And
Thank you so
we'll be
much.
seeing you around here.
Yeah, I'll be running in the background every now
All
and
right,
then.
okay.
So my company knows that I'm actually working.
Okay, yeah, make sure they do. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Okay, well, it's great.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wouter. See you around.
All right, thank you.
Throughout his speech, President Obama
会说汉语吗？